Hello, I'm William Gallagher, and this is 58 Keys, which, as ever, as always, is for writers like you and me who use and who write and do other writing-related things on Macs, iPhones, and iPads. Do subscribe, do hit that likey thing, or support 58 Keys on Patreon, because there is always so much to talk about, and sometimes even to write about. For instance, this week, I'm going to be, just brace yourself, you're going to be so impressed with this. I am going to be writing an entire 200 words for a magazine that I'm editing and producing. Now, I don't think you actually want to watch me sit here typing all those words. I may have done that before in a video, but let me use that editorial that I'm writing and the whole magazine as an example of one way to work with Affinity Publisher. I mean, seriously, it is just one way. It's the way I use this app to produce. Well, actually, this year it's going to be 6 or 7, but no, actually 7 or 8 individual PDF publications. Small chance it's 9. Anyway, whatever the number is, it's enough that I now believe I can show you around Affinity Publisher. But let me stress this. This is not enough. I don't know enough yet to give you a 58 Keys full Three Biscuit guide that gets into every detail of this actually tremendous app. If you already use Affinity Publisher, well, doubtlessly you're going to know different things than I do, and there's at least a strong chance, right, that you will know better than I do. And this would be entirely why comments were created on YouTube channel. So, I'd be grateful for anything, any steer you can give me about it. But here is Affinity Publisher. I'm going to do it on the Mac. It's also on the iPad as well, which is a marvellous thing, but let's concentrate on the Mac version. So Affinity Publisher, if you don't happen to already know, is a page layout app. It's the latest in a long line. It goes back to oldest PageMaker in the 1980s, on through Quark Express, which ruled the world until it didn't. I mean, it's like Quark just kind of abdicated, really, in favour of Adobe InDesign. And InDesign is amazing. It is one of the apps that I learned on. I learned how to do page design on, and I was about to tell you a story. Don't let me go into that. Actually, also, don't let me go without telling you a story about InDesign. But let's get on topic here. This is what you do first with Affinity Publisher. You don't go anywhere near Affinity Publisher. Write your 200 words, in my case, this editorial that I've got to do. I mean, that's all I'm writing in this shoot, but then work on everybody else's article if you're the editor. Write every other article if you're the writer. A magazine, this has regular features and columns. So when I produce this particular thing, I put out a call for all the columnists. I put it out early. I give them the dates. I also commission specific articles that I know I need for the piece and I want to run and I can find a good writer for. And then I make a project plan. Actually, I make a project plan in OmniPlan, a long list for the year, and then I make a checklist in numbers for individual issue, what columns I've got to have, when I've last asked them, who I asked, when they've been delivered, all of that. I used to actually also have a kind of separate numbers spreadsheet where I would work out the running order for the issue. I mean, columns are all in the same place, but the features, what's the best order for that? That's all kind of become subsumed for me into this one checklist. And actually also when I began working on this particular magazine, I spent a lot of time working out what's called the flat plan. Here's the one I did. Actually, you weren't meant to see it. Nobody's meant to see it, but it's very rough. I put things on, where would they go in the magazine? And then I moved things around. And I blocked out those things like the ones that had to go in certain places. I mean, you can figure all that out from the plan. A flat plan, all magazines have flat plans, but they're really of most use when you're making a print magazine. Because apart from the front and the back covers, with a print magazine, you are looking at 2 pages at a time, and that's what you look at in a flat pan. You're looking at the double page spread, and you're thinking about where features should go in the magazine, right? But you're also thinking about how the spreads will look. Where will the images go so that each spread is visually interesting, so that each spread is different, and yet it's still clearly part of the same issue, the same magazine. None of that entirely goes away when you're doing what I'm doing now, which is producing a magazine that actually will only be published in PDF form. But once I'd done it here, a flat plan for my first issue, it helped, and I haven't had to do it again. I made the kind of broad decisions there, and while each issue is of course always different, they have to fall into the same parameters. It's the same magazine. So I made decisions about images tend to be this size or that. They are captioned in this way. They're laid out in just basically in a few ways that I've chosen. Might well change, but broadly they're the same. And none of that sounds as if it uses Affinity Publisher at all, because none of it does. Until now. Now, with all of this in your head and every article edited, every image found, now you take that knowledge and that planning and that thinking with you as you open Affinity Publisher for the first time. Here's the thing. A couple of weeks ago now, I finished producing one magazine, and if I now do this, file, open recent, Spark issue 28, boom, there it is. Except, I really hate starting this with a bad thing, but there is one bad thing about Affinity Publisher. It's just also actually hopefully a rare bad thing. If you are using Affinity Publisher on a Mac under macOS Sonoma, the latest version of macOS as I record this, then you may, just may, have a little problem. And I do. In one magazine. It's this. File, open recent, all looks the same so far. WIE, Writing Education, 92, and we wait. Again, this is quite rare, but it's a bug in Affinity Publisher that means it can take a long time to open a document. I mean, you just saw one that was fast, this one is slow, and you're looking at me like I'm thinking, oh, it takes a bit of seconds, how terrible is it? No. Actually, wait a minute. I mean, this is not even like with PCs and Windows where you'd switch them on and go make some tea while you wait for it. With this, and again, can't overstress this, it's rare, it can take Affinity Publisher an hour to open a document. So imagine me, please, on deadline on an issue, faced with apparently not being able to open my almost entirely finished issue. Now, I found out very quickly that the bug is rare, but that wasn't very helpful at the time. Affinity says the answer is, okay, bad, but let it take as long as it needs to open, because then when it has, the bug should be gone. It should be fine. And actually it's true. After an hour, this issue was open, and since then I've closed it, reopened it, worked on it over and over, and there have been no problems. I've noticed that it's never as fast to open as say, that Spark magazine issue was, but this time it's 20 seconds or less. Until yesterday, when I started thinking of what it was I knew well enough to show you in Affinity Publisher, and I opened up this issue to just check how I'd done something, and it was the same again, an hour. Still, that has been my sole actual problem in Affinity Publisher. And if I mentioned that it's rare, there have been many more times when I didn't know how to do something, so I looked it up. There are actually some superb tutorials by Affinity and other people on YouTube that will show you in far more detail, far better detail than I can. And I'll link to the ones I've liked and used the most in the description. And as well as not knowing things, well, I've also made mistakes that meant text turned out looking awful. But no actual other problems in Affinity Publisher than this rare bug. So let me finally shut up and put that behind us and look at what the app gives us when we get a document open. Here's the issue that I'm working on. Let me show you that, of course, well, that's my document, isn't it? Right in the middle, and you can zoom in and out to do things. You can scroll back and forth. There's also this panel just to the side there, which at the moment is showing me all of the double page spreads in this issue, and then I can scroll through that to get more quickly. I can jump more quickly to certain pages that I want. Because we're looking at that, by the way, let me just show you something that's quite common in Affinity. Since we're looking at this panel, okay, there is a panel, but right at the top there are tabs. And instead of pages, as we're looking at now, you can instead list the document's assets. And I don't actually know what that means yet. Or stock. Stock gives you access to stock photography from Pexels and Pixabay. Affinity was bought a couple of weeks ago now by Canva, and Canva has previously bought both of those stock image libraries. I mean, you have to join, some are paid, some are free and all that, but there's a route through to them. And then in that same section, brace yourself for this, there's also pre-flight. Click on that, wince, because Affinity shows you all of the errors in your document. Errors. It has to be certain types of errors. So I know there are like an embarrassing number there, but if you look, please, most of them here are spelling mistakes, and they're not spelling mistakes. They're proper names and things. They're not mistakes at all. So, okay. But this is an error, and this is one I pay a lot of attention to. Bleed hazard. Now that is a mistake. That is my mistake, and actually shortly I'll show you how you too can get that wrong. But for now, we'll just hide that. Wrapped around the document, let's get away from the panel. Wrapped around the document and this panel, there's a set of controls, three different types of controls, and you'll recognise them if you used any image app. I mean, down the left side there's a strip of controls for adding text, moving images, moving things around. Across the top, there's a toolbar which is it's in kind of two parts. It's like a top layer with broad options, such as those to do with taking something you put on the page and moving it backwards or forwards. So if you have text that's supposed to go over an image, well, you can move the text forward or push the image back until you get it the way you like. Underneath that, there's the same kind of text tools that you've seen in every word processor, every text editor. Tools for choosing fonts, sizes, all of that. And then down the other side of it, there's this series of panels. And again, they change. I think this is the default. You start fiddling and you forget, but I think this is default. And this is actually where my interest usually is. This is where I get paragraphs selected. This is actually where I make text look horrible, and frankly it's a skill. But I will often also click here to switch to layers. Layers are your friend. You know, the forward and back, you can control them here. But anyway, for now, pull back out, and what we've got right in front of me, or in front of us, is really, it's an almost finished magazine with absolutely countless tools and options that are just waiting for us. One reason that this has to be a shallow dive into Affinity Publisher is I would guess that I'm using 10% of its features. And that is partly necessary because I'm making PDF magazines instead of print ones. I mean, I know that. But also I think the good version is that I'm just using what I need. And when I need more, then there is more waiting for me. I mean, that has proved to be the case as I've gone through. That's the good thing. The bad version is I know that I'm not using certain tools simply because I don't know that I need them. I don't know that they would help me yet. So we get better with this. I get better with it. Let's go back to the good bit, the positive thing. Let me show you setting up a magazine issue from scratch. File, new, pick a template, or get really detailed about what sizes you want. I'm in the UK where a standard size is A4, so I just, not a lot, then slick, great, that's fine. And here is a blank page for us to start working on, which we are not going to do. Instead, I cannot stress how important this is, or if you prefer how stupid I was when I tried doing anything other than I'm about to show you here, you need to click this, you need to click here, Master Pages, and then click on that one that appears. This is a blank double page spread, and it's like a template for your whole document. Anything you put on here goes on every page. So for instance, let me add a footer and a page number. This tool here is for adding text boxes. So I click on that, and now with the page zoomed in so we can see it, draw the box where I want this page number text to go, and then, well, type a footer. Choose text, insert, fields, page number, done. And then actually let's copy that box, slide over to the other side of the double page spread, paste and rearrange the text a little bit. And if we look back at our blank page, there it is. That blank page that we were given straight away before we went into master pages. Go back to that and there it is, automatically numbered 1. Now, let me go to Document, Add Pages, and let's have 10 of them for now. And now if you skip down this panel, you click at the end, there's a page with the number 10 automatically in place. Right now, every page uses this master page, which is called Master A, and so every page has this footer. If there is a page where I don't want that footer, I can go to that page and I can delete the text on it. But there is another way around that, and it's a better way, and it's called Master B. You can create a new master page. In fact, you can create as many as you like. And well, this is another bit where you kind of step away from the app and you ponder what you want. Because this isn't just about whether or not you have page numbers. In the magazine that I'm doing right now, for example, I have decided that the first page of an article will always start on the right-hand side of the spread, and it will typically begin with an image that I've said takes up about the top third, and on that first page there'll be a single column of text, and then for the second spread or any subsequent pages I want 2 columns of text. So let me set Master A, for example, as 2 columns, because that's what most pages are going to be like. This is somewhere where actually I know I need to be better, but I'm kind of getting away with it for now. Please don't wince if you know more than I do. Yeah, wince away. I drag a guide to the center of each page just to help me. I then click on the text frame tool there, position it carefully to start in a corner, and then drag down to the bottom. I want this to fill the left-hand side of the page, but not so close to the right-hand side of the page that the text mashes together. So, admittedly, just by eye, I'm judging how close can this to the center can I get that will look all right. And then there's this triangle here. This is an overflow icon. If I had text in this box and there was too much of it, if there's over matter, I can click on that triangle and then drag to create another text box that fills up with the overflowed text, somewhere that the rest of the text will go into. And actually I'm going to be doing that so much during the production of the magazine. Most commonly I'll have filled the page, right, so that I have the over matter go on to the next page. But actually here on the master page with no text, I am telling it in advance to always flow the text from the first column to the second. I imagine really, if I'd thought about this further, I should do that again and have it flow automatically from the second to the next page with the third and fourth columns. But, I've already laid these out. Let me just copy and paste these boxes for now. Now I have 4 columns as I want across 2 pages as I want. So it is a 2-column layout per page again as I want. One more example of a master page. This magazine that I'm doing now has 3 really distinct sections. There's like regular columns at the start. There are features making up the majority of the magazine, and then there's a reviews section at the end. I need the reader to know that this is a single issue. It is one thing with all of these bits in it, and I also need them to be able to kind of navigate their way around, to find the bits that they're interested in as easily as I can possibly make it. So I do this. I give the front columns and the back review sections a background colour. Just in this magazine, I haven't done it anywhere else. I do it like this. Draw an image frame around the whole double page spread on the master. Choose an absolutely horrible colour and then try to make it better. And then lastly, I'm going to try reducing the opacity because I want a paler background. Okay, not something that will overwhelm the text. It's not to shine out, it's to identify. And now that I've done this to Master A, I've made Master A be the colour I want for the regular contributors columns, the front matter. To help me remember that when I've got other masters that don't have that colour, well then I can rename Master A. And actually I can create a new master for the review section, naming it as I go. But then that just gives me a blank master if I do it this way. I'm back where I started. while I know I don't want the same colour for this section, I do want the page numbers, I do want the columns. So actually let me delete that and then duplicate my front matter master. I want everything on this master except that colour, so let me change the colour. And for the main features, right, well, I want the same thing all over again, but without any colour at all. Fine, get rid of the background completely. Duplicate one of these masters, select the colour frame, delete. Let's pretend, right, that I've done all the front matter columns. They're all ready and done, and now I'm working on one of the features that goes in the majority of the magazine. Click on the page that's going to go onto, and then this, Apply Master. And I've made two mistakes. One is that I've labelled my masters the wrong way around. Sorry about that, so let me just go back to fix it, because you can. An example of fixing things very easily. And the other thing is that I applied this master to just one of 2 pages in a double page spread. Since I'm doing a PDF, okay, I don't really have to worry about double pages. It comes out one page after another, but I mean, I do from habit, I worry about them. And also, a feature in this magazine, it's going to take more than 1 page, and I can't be bothered to keep going and clicking and applying a master every single time. So instead, with my now correctly named masters, I do this. You can see as I move the cursor over it that you are selecting either 1 page or the other, or 2 in a spread, or more. Interesting use of the word "or" there, but now I can select all the pages I want, including the last thing there, and hit Apply Master. Which leads me to the last thing I want to show you in the magazine, placing things in there. There's a song there, isn't there? Places word. It's kind of a horrible word. I'm not sure about it. Usually with text, and I don't really know why, I will copy and paste it from a text editor into the document. Place is actually the right thing to do because it opens the text file and it takes everything in. But look at that, I've got the layout wrong. It will be because of how I set, do you remember when I was setting the page numbers? I set it to be aligned right on that last one. I set that for the page number and it stayed because I didn't set it for anything else. I didn't change it for anything else. And that means from now on, every page will have the text aligned right. And I can fix it for this one, but every page is going to be like this. So I should make that change in the master. There, sorted. And the way I've just done this, right, you can see the overflow icon in action. And actually I think I will go back to make those 4 columns flow on from being 1. I think that will save me time later, but that's another change that after we've spoken I will go back and make in the master. I'll redo the columns. And I could also look at the spacing thing there. The way this text has come in, there are ugly gaps between the paragraphs, but in this case I know from last time that every submission that I've accepted into this issue is, I mean, sometimes crazily differently formatted. I will work on all of them again outside of Affinity Publisher. I will save them all as plain text or maybe RTF, but still, even when I do that, I can somehow, some of them come in with gaps like this. And actually, this might not be the most efficient thing, but since they're all different, I make the change on each page once it's in, rather than trying to impose some kind of formatting order from the master pages, put the text in, kill the blank lines. Right? But give me a second here. I need to tidy this up before I show you the very, very last bits, and they're good. Okay, I'm not actually very happy with this layout. I don't think it looks brilliant at all, but it will let me show you something important. Okay, look at this image of me slapping my forehead. I should say this isn't my feature, but I don't know that I can show you the real writer's image. So just for now, apologies to the real writer, I'm using me. I'm pretending I am the author, and I want 2 things. I want full credit, which means a caption, and I want you to be able to read my words. I don't want the caption and my photograph to be covering them up as they are now. First, covering up. Select the image. Choose text, then text wrap, show text wrap, settings. I know that this is the one I want because I've done it before. It's saying, actually, this is an example of saying, put the text around the image. So click, and that is done. You can control the gap, you can do all sorts of things, but click and it's done. Now, I said I don't like this page, actually, because I don't. I mean, I think the headline's dreadful. I mean, the look of it, the words are okay. So I will need to think about that. You need to think about these things too, and actually preferably before you get to this stage, before you even open Affinity Publisher or Adobe InDesign and things. It's the same issue that you need to think about. It's not an app specific thing. You need to decide things like your fonts. Be consistent on your fonts and your sizes. Get your text columns all the same way. The images, like I said before, everything. You think about it all. And in practice, yeah, you're going to piddle about with it all in Affinity Publisher, looking to see what you think of things in action. But the more you plan ahead, the more things you have ready before you even open the app, the better things will go, the faster they will go, and the better it will look in the end. Actually, I promise you, the faster everything will be, the better everything will be. Next thing you know, though, you're at the end, right? And you are ready to publish with a better looking issue than this. For a PDF issue like mine, it's very easy. File, export. Oh, and actually, no, warnings. If I go into this one, well, good. There are two types of error, and actually I like both of them. None of them are spelling mistakes. I like that it catches them. Let me do overflowing text frame first, because that's easy, actually, and also I'm finding it's very common. I get this quite a bit. It means that the feature on this page, the feature you're looking at, it has more text than is being shown, than is visible on the page. What I should do is create a new page by clicking that triangle and flowing it onto the new page, and then the next new page and the next. So if it's a really long feature, keep going like this, page after page. Do that until all of the text is visible on the page, and that error will then go away. Bleed hazard, which I mentioned before. If I double click on that error, or any error, actually it leads me to the page where the problem is, and it could do with showing me a bit clearer, but in this case I can see it. When I dragged that colour background onto the master page, I was not the most precise I've ever been. I kind of went a bit over the sides. So this colour here that wouldn't print out, that won't show on the PDF, it'll be off the page, and what Affinity Publisher is doing is telling me that, William. Duh. What I ought to do, and I promise you I will when we're done, is I will fix it by redoing the colour and make it precisely on the page. What I can do, since here it's only the overmatter error that I care about, I can go back to File, Export, and then tell it ignore warnings, because I know the ones I left I don't care about. Now, we are into specific settings for PDF, but it's time that you and I have to stop, or just about this bit, because those settings are up to you and what you want. Plus, especially a PDF, it has certain resolutions that you might want to choose from, but print magazines, well, they need higher resolutions, they need all sorts of things, and they're up to you and your publisher and all this. Or alternatively, quick version of saying it, I don't know the answers to all of that, but what I do know is that, well, it takes time to lay out a magazine. I know that it takes a lot of thought and preparation, and I know I've not covered something important. Actually, I'm quite certain I've skipped a whole lot of things through sheer ignorance. Sorry about that. But even in this deliberately shallow dive into Affinity Publisher, there is something that I want to show you. Easiest to bring up a finished magazine for this. I don't like this, by the way. I mean, you can have several documents open in Affinity Publisher, fine. And in any other app I know, you would switch between them through something like a window menu at the top. There'd be the list, go to the one you want. They'd be just, in order. Right. With Affinity Publisher, you have to choose, let me remember this because I'm not in front of it now. Let me choose the View menu, then Views, and then the document you want. But, okay, I've done that. Let me, in this magazine, find a page I'm looking for, and this one will do. Let me zoom in for a moment. Broader cultural content. And now let me zoom back out. This page is okay. It's in the middle of a very long academic article, and remember Remember these oldie worldy newspapers like the Times from the 1800s or whatever, when they would just have so much text crammed onto every page, all that stuff. Articles can look like that, and they mustn't. You need to make them readable. You need to break up these things. You need to make the double page spread visually interesting, and that includes how you do the text, not just the images you put in. And that's why this is okay. The text is broken up into columns, and then I added some paragraph breaks so that even this far into the piece, it stops being a wall of solid text. And you see the image, the bottom left, fine. That's not brilliant of me, actually. The bottom left of any page is practically a dead area. Our eyes don't seem to go there, to the extent that... Well, I'm omitting everything. Sometimes I used to put things in there in the bottom left that a client has demanded I put in the issue, but I knew wasn't very good. Hide it in plain sight, bottom left corner. But still, in this case, having an image there, it breaks up the wall of text again. And that is precisely and only what the broader cultural content does too. It's called a pull quote because it's a few words taken from the article and brought out in this different, more visible way. But here's the trick of it. I don't care what the words are. The words don't have to be from the article, though I always do take it as a pull quote. I have to take it from them. But they don't even need to be referring to the text immediately under this. This is not a heading like you would have in most writing. The thing is, nobody reads the pull quotes. What a pull quote in this kind of layout does is solely break up the text. It makes the page more visually interesting, even though I fully accept it's only a little bit more visually interesting, but a bit. That is the kind of thinking that you need to do in laying out pages and double page spreads. You are focused on the text because you're a writer, but you're also not focused on the text because right now you aren't a writer at all. You are an editor and a publisher. The text must be right, but it must be right before it comes into the magazine. From here, you are thinking about how best to present the text to the reader so that they will read it, so that they will find it easy to read. I mean, I love and adore doing this. I absolutely love and adore doing it. But sometimes it takes a non-writing head. You've got to separate yourself from the text that maybe you've written. And that's actually sometimes a very good thing for us to do. Have you got time for the stories that I mentioned that I said don't let me go without saying it? We're kind of done, but there are two, both of which I realise actually I'm really proud of, and I would like to say if you've got a second. The first was back in the 1980s, right, when I was features editor on a national magazine called PC Direct. At one point, when my work was done on a particular issue and I was still setting up the next, but it was easy time for me and there was a lot of pressure on the art desk, I joined that art desk to lay out some of the articles that I had edited. I suppose it wasn't great that they needed an extra pair of hands, but it was great that they trusted me with this. I was so proud of that. I do actually remember, though, that the main editor of that magazine, she really, really didn't trust me on this, because I remember her being extra vigilant proofreading pages that I had set. Oh, it's a long time ago. I also remember painstakingly untangling this mess of British Standard marks that she'd made and realising how contradictory they were. So never tell her. But I ended up ignoring quite a lot of them. Never tell. I imagine that was all on Quark Express, just from when it was, and I do know it was on a Macintosh 2FX, machines that seemed so fast back then. But flash forward a lot of years to Radio Times magazine, at one point the biggest selling magazine in the UK. When I was on their website, there was a job every week to get certain information from the next issue of the magazine so that it could go online on time, and nobody on the team wanted to do it because it was fiddly, and fiddly, time-consuming, and I grabbed it every single week that I was there because that information was in the Radio Times Adobe InDesign files of the next issue. I taught myself how to use InDesign in order to get that information out. So I was studying the Adobe InDesign documents of, like I say, what was at the time the best-selling magazine in the UK. Fantastic people doing such a great magazine. I think I was really fortunate there, but that's not the thing. This is the thing. After a whole load of people like me, writers, were made redundant from Radio Times, only one of us was ever asked back, and it was me. I was asked back pretty much exactly a year later to work on a book. I should have got the book to show you. I'll put an image of it somewhere. The condition of being hired back to work on it was that I must know Adobe InDesign. Radio Times unknowingly taught me that app and then paid me to use it. I tell you, page layout is always so satisfying, but especially satisfying then. And I love that I get to do it again now after so much time, and I absolutely relish doing it in Affinity Publisher. Thank you to Norway, by the way, for letting me show you their magazine in progress. If you are a UK writer and you're working in any form of education, well then take a look at joining Norway, the National Association of Writers in Education. Okay, this is a link in the video description below. Of course there is, you know how this works. We're online. We do links in descriptions. How strange actually to feel this pleasure at page layout when the giant majority of my work is exactly like that. It goes straight online somewhere. Anyway, it is fun. And that's it for this edition of 58 Keys. If you would like to put off writing for just a little bit longer, well, I think on screen now you can see a 58 Keys. This is the one about Affinity being bought recently by Canva. But in the meantime, thank you very much for watching this one. Thanks for giving me actually this chance to enthuse at you about some brilliant software like Affinity Publisher, and actually to also unexpectedly be reminded of my work from so long ago. I'm quite the magazine guy. I love it. That was then though. This is now, and what you should be doing now is taking care of yourself, writing more than anything. Write more. And I will see you soon.